Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your host, Bad Guy Ibra, and today I'm excited to talk about this topic because since Manny Pacquiao, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest pound for pound boxer of all time, Manny Pacquiao, since he's retired, this there hasn't sort of been sort of like any question. There hasn't been many questions on like what would have happened if Pacquiao, would have fought the elites at this moment. I'm like the top, like the top of the food chain, the likes of Terence Crawford. What would have really like sort of happened? Because you gotta remember precisely when it comes to boxing, right? Styles are essentially what makes fights. That is sort of like a critical, fundamental part of boxing. This sort of this concept, this idea. And unfortunately, Pacquiao did for Ugas, the Ugas, the Cuban guy, and he lost to be honest, and he did lose to be honest. But what would have happened if Pacquiao would have fought someone of similar size, or someone like Terence Crawford, the current champion? That's always been on my mind to be honest. So I don't know what you lot think. In my opinion, I think that would be a good fight. Pacquiao and Terence Crawford for the titles and stuff. I always thought about that to be honest. I always had. And honestly, Terence Crawford, an amazing, skillful boxer. Just he's just so flawless, mate. Especially his fight against. He's demonstrated that, or at least illustrated that in so many different fights, including his fight against Sean Potter. Again, Sean Potter was being very aggressive, but Sean Potter unfortunately got knocked down, and eventually he got the finish right because his corner threw in the towel. But you see, Terence Crawford is a great boxer, and he required the only sort of like style that could actually defeat Crawford is sort of like an aggressive boxing style. I'm talking about a real aggressive boxing style, someone who can mix things up, someone who can box, but someone who's also aggressive at putting sort of like the combinations together. And Manny Pacquiao is that guy. And the only problem, to be precise, with Pacquiao is that it's because of age. But let's be honest here, Terence Crawford is not that young. He's been around for a long time. So I thought Manny Pacquiao at a Crawford fight would have been probably the best in the division at the time before Pacquiao retired. That would have been the best fight in the division, to be honest. It's kind of sad for me to see Pacquiao retire, to be honest. It really is sad to see the Pacquiao retire from the sport of boxing, to be honest. Like, because although he was at the age of 40, 43 or 42 when he retired, right? But there was so many, there's so many opportunities to have someone as old as Pacquiao who's been around in the sport of boxing, to be precise, to be able to, compete with like these, the likes of Errol Spence Jr. It's gonna be funny because I always thought that Pacquiao would be able to beat Spence Jr., right? Now imagine he had the opportunity to fight Spence, which the fight was eventually gonna happen until something happened and it was either injury. Oh yeah, Errol Spence Jr. was injured and as a result couldn't fight Pacquiao, right? And it was sad to see, to be honest, because it would have been funny just seeing Pacquiao just wiping these young guns out and all and just kicking their asses and that. Um, but yeah, Terence Crawford and a Pacquiao fight. Ooh, it's just something that I've always like sort of dreamt about happening, to be honest. Because my goal was, what I was expecting was that Pacquiao was gonna beat Errol Spence Jr. and then we're gonna see the Pacquiao and Crawford fight. But it seems like it's not gonna happen. So essentially, this, I'm trying to condense it all down to who would win. Basically, if Pacquiao would have fought Terence Crawford, because again, age matters, but style is what makes fights, right? And so my question is, what would have transpired if Pacquiao would have fought Errol Spence Jr.? And excuse me, if Pacquiao would have fought Terence Crawford, I keep making mistake between the two black guys, Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford. I know. Anyways, that doesn't matter right now. What would have happened if Pacquiao would have fought Terence Crawford, right? I think styles make fights. So generally, I agree that Pacquiao will substantially be the underdog going into the fight, right? But we also need to accept that there's an opportunity for Pacquiao to be able to beat Terence Crawford. It's possible. Like anything is possible in boxing. We've seen it recently. We've seen it again when Teofimo Lopez fought George Campbell fought George Kambosos Jr. I mean, let's be honest, he wasn't expecting Kambosos to win, but he won, right? So anything is possible. And again, as I've mentioned, because styles make fights in boxing and in combat sports in general, I believe as a result of that, or as a consequence, I think Pacquiao definitely would have had a chance against Terence Crawford, and the fact that Terence Crawford isn't like any sort of like substantially bigger than Pacquiao, and experience also matters as well. I think Pacquiao, as I've mentioned earlier, Pacquiao would have easily dusted Errol Spence Jr. and then the fight against Terence Crawford could have happened. But now here we are. It's never gonna happen. Pacquiao's retired now. He's obviously hoping to run for president. He's running for presidency in his country, in the Philippines. So yeah, I'm happy for him though. To be honest, I am. But I would have expected or would have wanted the Pacquiao and Terence Crawford fight to have materialized, to be honest. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you, appreciate you lot watching this video. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and obviously, make sure you turn on your notification bells, because that means a lot. Appreciate that. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, have yourselves a fantastic day.